Right now, we are at the mountainous region of the Silkyara Tunnel. What you can see behind me is the mountainous region, and there I would like to request my VJ to pan the camera for you to show all of our audience how beautiful the visual is. But there's a special story about it that Professor Arnold, whose expertise in this field of tunneling, who is the ITA president, International Tunneling Association president, is with me right now. We are going to speak to him and understand the current situation. So, according to you, Professor Dick, what is the current scenario inside the tunnel? How do you see this moving forward, the operation moving forward?
Well, at the moment, we've got multiple rescue missions all happening concurrently. And so, although no one knows which mission will be the successful one, we've got 5 going on right now. So we've got the mission through the collapse area with various techniques going in that way. We've got a mission in the side of the mountain trying to intercept the tunnel. We've got a mission from the top of the mountain coming down, and we've got a mission coming from the other end of the tunnel coming in. So I'm sure we're going to rescue the men. I'm sure they're coming home. I'm just not sure when. Okay.
So, Professor Dick, you have got the expertise of 30 years in this field. Could you please explain to our audience, as you mentioned that there's a 5-pronged strategy, one from the front, the head of the tunnel, another from back side of the tunnel, that is the tail of the tunnel, another from the side, one from the vertical side of the tunnel, right? Could you please explain for our audience, in a layman's language, what are the advantages and disadvantages associated with those endpoints?
So I can best explain them by just showing you a little bit of the rocks and actually explaining to you, you're my new geology tunneling class, okay? So I just want to show you what's inside your mountain, and it's really tricky. So right here behind me, and do you mind if I just put my back a little bit to you?
Right.
The first thing I want to show you is this mountain right here is collapsing. In fact, it's probably collapsing overnight, and if you look at the rocks, I can just pull them out with my fingers, and I'll show you. They're just smashed pieces of rock. So this tells me that right here, where we're standing, hopefully not right now, this is an avalanche position, right here. There's been an avalanche here quite recently, and it was an avalanche that occurred within the tunnel. So what we're looking at here is an example of how a mountain collapses, and these little broken rocks and all this fine mud is an example. Now, interestingly, immediately to our right is a huge boulder. So if we look, I'm not sure if your cameraman can turn his camera and look, but this here is a great big boulder. This is a boulder, the size of a small house. And this is in amongst the mud and the small rocks, in amongst these littler rocks as well. And this whole mountain is, as I call it, alive and moving. So in a geological sense, when we go to build a tunnel, and we're building a tunnel through these mountains, we have to try and tell exactly where these avalanche points are. Now here, on this piece of rubber,
how do you describe those avalanche points, basically? How do you distinguish it from the normal points? Could you please elaborate the soil condition over here?
Yeah, so what we do is we categorize the rock into different classes of rock, and depending on the class, it's how we provide the support in the tunnel. So in the tunnel that's collapsed, there's a particular type of support which has been provided, and anticipating particular ground type. So here, when I look at this rock, right, I can see it's moving. I can see the cracks and everything here. I can see when I touch it with my hands that it's going to fall apart. I can see the little breaking bits of rock.
We can find it. I mean,
yeah.
Could you please just see?
Yeah, sure.
These are the breaking points.
So I don't want to pull the big one out because maybe the mountain will fall. But let's pull a little one. I'll get a little one out. Here we go. So look, just crumbling in my hands. And this is the rock, this one. Right. This is what we've got in the tunnel. Right. So I know, because this is what I do when I'm in the tunnel doing my work, it's very slippery, feels a little bit like soap. It breaks, like you saw it break before, like in my hands. Like this, it's just breaking. And what's happened in the tunnel is a big area like this has just fallen down thousands of tons
Right.
into the tunnel.
Right.
So,
Professor Jake, how long will it take for the rescuers to safely rescue the...
before I rescue you, I've got your arm.
Right.
It's going to take. Yeah, I've got you. I've got your hand. Are you right? Yeah. Okay. This is good. This is
How long
So
will it
how
take
long?
to rescue the workers
Yeah.
who are basically stuck inside that tunnel,
Yeah.
sir?
So I've got you. This. So this is cooperation, huh? So best case, we're talking a few days, and it could be, in my view, it could be up to a couple of weeks. But we're not. It's not a guarantee whether it's a few days or something a little longer. What's important is that they're brought home safe, and that no rescuers are hurt as well. And as you see from doing this here, this is what we're dealing with. This is why we're being so careful. Here's me now sitting. You've already slid down the mountain. And we're not even in the tunnel yet.
Right. We have been talking a lot about the vertical drilling, right? Yeah. So, if the vertical drilling starts, because BRO team has been working day in and day out to complete that road, right? Once that road will be completed, how do you think that the vertical drilling will start, and how much longer it will take from there to finish the job?
Yeah, so the vertical drilling, I went up the mountain yesterday. You probably saw me climb up, do exactly this. So same style, we go up, we look, we touch the rocks. There's really good rock exactly above the tunnel, and once they get started, which I'm thinking should be either like later today, I can't tell exactly how long, but it's more than, like, it's not 2 or 3 days. It's quite a big operation. I'd be expecting a number of days before they get through, and it has to be very precise because it has to come down from the top of a mountain, straight down, and hit the tunnel exactly in the middle. So,
according to you, sir, what more needs to be done right now to rescue 41 workers who are basically stuck inside the tunnel for almost 10 days, as we have entered into the 10th day of the operation, sir?
yeah, in my assessment, and I've been doing this for 30 years, there's nothing more. What's happening here is extraordinarily fantastic. Normally I don't see so many concurrent operations. Normally I don't see such resolve to protect human life. The whole world is here helping, and I don't think there's anything more we can do other than keep doing what we're doing.
Right. As we have been seeing that 5-prong approach, right? Could you please explain for our audience the pros and cons attached to those approach? So.
Well, there's multiple, I'll just adjust myself here as we slide down the hill. Hang on, I think that's better. The approaches which are being taken in the tunnel, the advantages of them is that they're quick, or comparatively quick. But as you've seen over the last 9 days, the disadvantages of them are that they are susceptible to a very unhappy mountain. It's unstable, like what we've got behind us here. We've had the avalanche, so we've got quite difficult conditions, and those conditions can change quickly. Of course, our big fear is that there'll be a second avalanche in there. Okay, so that's a real risk. So that's why we're being so careful. But it's quicker, so we're in there. Then when you've got the side access, it's good because we're using very proven technology, but the disadvantage is it's slow. But it's very proven. If we go to the vertical one, one of the obvious disadvantages for me was that a road had to be built. I think I have to acknowledge that was a terribly difficult decision.
Right.
Terribly difficult decision for the project to do that. But, not on engineering grounds, just because it built a road in a beautiful location. And so that was a very serious decision. But the advantage of that, the difficulty of that is we have to come through different sorts of rock. Like here, we don't really know what we're going to hit.
Right.
Like, what if we hit a rock like this?
Right.
Great big solid rock. And then if we're looking at the from the back of the tunnel coming the other direction, the disadvantage of that is it takes a long time, but it's again very proven. So,
So 10 days has been a long time, right? All the 41 workers who are basically stuck inside that tunnel is most of them must be in like a difficult situation, right? This prolonged situation and stuck inside that tunnel could be very bad for them. How do you see it from an expert angle?
Normally, when I come to a disaster, they're dead. So I'm Sure, it's not perfect, and sure, psychologically, it's really difficult. And you know, things like not being able to sleep, not knowing whether it's night and day, the food that they're eating not being what they're used to eating, not having a proper bathroom, not being able to wash, not knowing what's going on, not having communications, they're all bad. But they're alive, and we're going to get them home. And so, yes, it's a long time, but I am so happy to be here getting them home and not actually on an operation to find their bodies.
There have been a major development yesterday. What we seen on last evening, basically, that a 6-inch diameter pipe has been inserted. Right. Previously, there was a 4-inch diameter pipe which was inserted. Now, there's an alternative pipe. Right. How do you see this moving forward? How do you see this operation going forward?
So it's really fantastic for everybody. We've got the 6-inch pipe through, and credit to the team that's done it. It's just fantastic work. And doing that really is a 9-day job, because the team kept running into rocks like what we're seeing here. Right. So they just couldn't get through. So what it means for us is, in terms of our morale, obviously we're feeling a lot better. In terms of how everyone's feeling in the tunnel, they're obviously feeling a lot better. The pipe itself is larger, so it means we can send better food, because we realised that the food we could get through. Yeah, so it's really good, and it's proven that we can do it. You know, it's proven we're on the right track.
Right. So this was Professor Arnold Dix, who is basically international tunneling expert, who was speaking exclusively to the Republic TV and explaining the entire situation, how basically morphologically, geologically, anatomically, this structure is different inside the tunnel and outside the tunnel. He was explaining the rocks and the nature of the rock and how it is different in the Himalayan region. With camera person Firdaus Aqil for Republic TV.